you still had that desire, because I remember that stage. You know, things weren't going particularly well for you, even though you had all the talent, um, and you were toying with the idea of leaving.
Yeah.
Thankfully, you didn't leave, but something
No.
else happened, and I think that was mastermind. So,
Well, I'll tell you the story of that. Uh, Normally, when you join the chambers back in the olden days, you were there for life.
mm,
But I had a sort of nomadic existence in relation to hopping from chambers to chambers, not settling, because I wasn't getting, even though I was getting the results in terms of winning trials, I simply wasn't getting the support. And so much so that I joined the chambers in Birmingham, and I was commuting daily. Um, and at the same time, do you remember I used to work as a part-time lecturer at Hackney College, 4 nights a week? Again, that was important for me to try and, teach the next generation to actually attain their own goals and ambitions.
when you say you weren't getting the support, many of the people watching this won't understand what you mean by that. So, could you just explain
Yeah,
the difficulties that you were facing?
yeah, the difficulties sometimes with the legal profession is this: you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't actually have the support by the instructing solicitors who are there to actually give you the briefs, then talent's going to count for nothing, because you don't have the sort of platform in order to actually display your skills. Although I was winning cases, I didn't have the widespread network of support of solicitors that mainly successful barristers normally do have. And when that work does dry up, it can be very, very difficult. And sometimes I'd sort of survive on doing people's returns, and even winning those wasn't enough. Towards 1994 to 95, it was really, really getting difficult, especially when, you've got an empty diary and you find yourself sitting at home watching nothing more than daytime TV, and it can be very, very demoralizing. That's what led me to actually decide to actually leave 6 Kings Bench Walk, and I joined another set of chambers, and they were called Somerset Chambers. They were, and again, I was having the same brilliant success. I had a fantastic clerk called Rosemary Phillips, who I was getting on with extremely well. But for some unknown reason, the chamber decided to get rid of her, and the next thing you know, my quality of my work died dramatically, really. And I think I mentioned the fact that I had that sort of nomadic existence in terms of moving from chambers to chambers, not really settling, not being able to actually build a practice. So I then joined, followed Rosemary to called Britain Street Chambers, which wasn't the best set in the world, but I didn't feel sort of comfortable there. I was just glad to actually have my feet under the table somewhere. And then I was persuaded to join a set in Birmingham. Now, I wanted to see how that went. So rather than sort of sell my home and move up to Birmingham, I decided to actually commute to see whether or not the promise of work would really materialize. And for the best part of 9 months, it didn't. And we got to like February 1999, where things got so bad, I had to cash in all my sort of life savings policies and basically try to survive. And that's when I really hit rock bottom, and I decided that's it, I've had enough, and I was going to leave, and I needed to do something else. And the one thing I needed to do is to basically not prove to the world that I had an ability, but to prove to myself. And my savior, I suppose, was to try my luck in game shows.
Let's talk about that then. So let's talk about Mastermind, because that was huge.
Well,
How
I
did
think we need
you?
to build up. We need
Oh,
to build up to that,
well, let's
really.
build up to it then, Shaun. Take it
Yeah.
away.
Right. So in February 1999, as I say, I hit rock bottom, and I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to basically be a bit of a rebel. So I started to sort of plait my hair, started wearing spiky type hair, dreadlock type hair. And I then started to going on game shows. Now, I've always been a fan of game shows as a young boy. I used to watch University Challenge. I watched the very first Mastermind back in 1972. And I was always fascinated how people could put themselves through the rigor of sitting in a sort of dark chair, being interrogated by an intimidating quizmaster, in front of a live studio audience, watched by millions and millions of people on TV. And I was always fascinated how people could have the courage and the fortitude to do something like that.
And can I stop you there before you continue? Sorry to interrupt you. I just want to continue on that theme. When I was going to court with you, when I was a pupil in chambers with you, we would take the train and you would hand me a quiz book and you would say, right, Sonia, can you just test me? And there were these questions, I'd ask you the questions, you knew all the answers, but you were just absolutely fascinated by it all.
And you know, and then I could switch back to what I had to do before, do a trial. And I don't think you ever followed me on a losing trial, I don't think.
Just one, Freud and Crown Court, I'll never forget it.
So, so I wanted to see how good I was, because it's easy sitting in the comfort of your sofa answering questions, but I wanted to see how good I was. I wanted to test myself. And it wasn't about a prize for me. It was to see how good I was. And if there's a prize at the end of it, then obviously I'm entitled to claim it if I win it. So I started on a show called 100%, finished second on that. As I say, I've written an autobiography called Jason's Dream, which basically covers...
Sean, put it down. We're going to get to it. Don't worry, we'll get to it.
Okay. But it does cover my quizzing career, and I did shows like The Weakest Link, a show called Greed, where I ended up being a captain of a team where we won £250,000. But I suppose the show I've always wanted to do was Mastermind. So at the time when I applied for the show, they just brought it back, because I originally wanted to do it in the 1980s. And I was so disappointed when they brought it off in 1997, because the sort of game show had lost its luster, and they decided to retire that show. They also retired some years earlier University Challenge, because it just lost its sparkle. But then quizzing became the new cool in the late 90s and 2000s. And I remember at that time, I was actually practicing at home. And I only had a small network of solicitors who were basically keeping me going. And then when they brought back Mastermind, and I saw Andy Page win the inaugural one with the new host, John Humphreys, in 2003, I remember looking at the newspaper and saying to myself, oh, I wish that could be me. And when I looked at it, I said, right, apply. And I did. And I remember when I went along to the audition and they asked me questions ranging from nuclear physics to sort of botany to sort of soaps, and I got 14 out of 20. So they said to me, you're quite good at quizzing. I said, I'm here to win it. I'm not here to play about. So they said, they must have rolled their eyes and said, yeah, of course, they all say that. And it was a lovely touch when I eventually did win the trophy. And I went up to the two young people who originally interviewed, and they were so excited. Before they got to me, I sung this ditty like this. I said, I went to Wonder Show, and now you're going to believe me, and now you're going to believe me, and now you're going to believe me. I went to Wonder Show. And they just burst out laughing, and it was just really fantastic. But I didn't tell a soul that I won Mastermind. The first time my mum knew about it was when she saw it on the telly. And there was a reason behind it, because obviously being the first Black person to win the show, I knew that the publicity was just going to be off the hook. And so it turned out, and more. But there's a reason why I didn't want to tell anybody, is because between the 6 months of me winning it and then eventually broadcasting it, I wanted to reflect how it was going to affect me, because I knew it was going to change my life, but I knew it wasn't going to change me as an individual. Yeah. And that's one thing I was determined that irrespective of what was going to come of it, Shaun Wallace would be the same, and it simply wouldn't change me, and it hasn't. Because I do remember you know, people sort of go crazy sometimes when they see me on the street, and I'm a bit taken aback, which is wonderful. But I remember the days when I was Shaun Who. All the people who knew me, people like you, and you know, who always had belief and faith in me. Those are the people who I would always listen to and take criticism from, not these so-called new fans who basically think I'm God's gift to learning, whereas they didn't know where that journey began, let alone hopes to go to. So.
We're going to talk about, you know, how you handle celebrity in a moment, but I know it's really important to you that you are seen as a barrister first, before a celebrity or a quizzer. Yeah. So how do you manage to combine the two?
Now, obviously, I'm in a situation where I can pick and choose my cases, really, and that's a wonderful position to be in.
Well, let's be careful about that because we do have a cab rank rule. So when you say
yeah,
pick and choose,
we do have a cab rank rule,
can
and
you explain what the rule is? What the rule is?
yeah, that you know, if I am instructed, then I must take the brief. For me, I've modified it slightly because, you know, increasing my time has taken up with recording the chase, and it's taken me around the world. But in saying that, when I do have an important trial, then the producers realise that my law career is important to me, and obviously they say, "Look, Shaun, just go off and do it," and I do. So last year I had a major trial at the Old Bailey where I was first on the indictment, where my client was faced with 2 charges of attempted murder, 2 charges of grievous bodily harm, 2 charges of possession of a firearm, and he was acquitted. The jury were out 9 days, and you know, the chase expected me back at least 3 weeks before the trial. But I said, look, I can't leave. I can't tell the judge I'm leaving now. You just have to get somebody to cover me. And although they were disappointed that fact, they had to understand. And they, to be fair, the producers of the chase, they know how important my career is to me. As you say, I'm a barrister first who just happens to be on TV.
When your clients first meet you and they realize that, oh my God, it's Shaun the Dark Destroyer from the chase,
Yeah.
what kind of reaction do you get?
I do get that, and sometimes I get that from jurors after, you know, some jurors do come up to me after the trial finishes, and they do that. But you know, I park that to one side. You know, when I say to a client, look, I'm not here as a quizzer. I'm here to represent you as a lawyer. Similarly, when I'm in a Crown Court trial, I can't help the fact that jurors recognise who I am. But they're not interested in that. All they're interested in is whether or not I've got the sufficient competence and ability to represent my client. That's all, and that's how it should be.
Absolutely. How has your life changed then since Mastermind and doing the chase and all the other TV programs that you've become involved in?
It's changed beyond my wildest dreams, actually. If you used to ask a 10-year-old Shaun Wallace, you know, who had the ambitions to be a lawyer, whether or not he thought his ambitions would take him to where I am today, he'd say that that was in the realms of fiction. But it's true, it's happened. Yes, it's changed my life, but I don't allow the celebrity to get involved in my life because I've still got the same friends, and it's still important, especially for me, to live in the same area and the same road that I've lived on for the last 55 years, because that just reinforces the fact that fame's transient. It can go tomorrow. And I'm conscious of that fact. And I would be, it'd be easier for me to handle, as opposed to if fame would come my way in my 20s or early 30s. Because obviously once the trappings of fame, you spend your lifetime trying to switch it on again, appearing on shows like Where Are They Now? Whereas, you know, what happened to me in my mid 40s, I can appreciate where I am, I can appreciate where I've come from, and I can appreciate all the hard times what I suffered. And when I won Mastermind, I sat there for about 2 minutes, tears of joy were just flooding, and they thought there was something wrong with me. They thought I probably had collapsed. And what I was going through was all the hardships, all the sort of ups and downs. What are people going to say? How are they going to react? You know, that's what was going through my mind. Realizing that I probably made history being the first Black person to win Mastermind, and basically showing the world that Black people are clever. Black people do have the intellectual capacity and ability, just like our white counterparts. So all those sort of things were going through my mind. And also, with fame comes responsibility. Obviously, for me, it's important to use my fame in a responsible way. And I see myself now as a person who should be, who will and does inspire the next generation. And I want my name now to basically be remembered in that regard, not for a person who was clever or on TV, but a person who helped to inspire the next generation, passing the torch of responsibility onto the next generation to achieve not what I've just done, but surpass my achievements.